What's up? Woo! It is the pink full moon, April 23rd, 2024. And I I hope there's only been like 57 that have watched my last live on here. They have I don't know what your Chastia page looks like on YouTube, but about a few months ago, they spammed the hell out of my stuff on my lives. And when you go to the live setting, I've probably got 60, says 60 upcoming videos. A lot of them having to do with Mars, like certain ones that they spammed the system on. So I changed the cover picture to a satellite picture. So that video that I did yesterday that I titled Clearing Tech Grids is the first part of this. And I'm gonna put up the camera in a minute and show y'all my face and everything. I'm going through clearings today, but at 10:10 I was making a decision if I was gonna come on and talk about what this woman is saying, because we walked it. As you can see, even from the photo thumbnail that's on this picture, I had to, in Vegas, escape from one of these cells that this woman is talking about in this breeding program. And it's all coming up today because we've rewritten the Egyptian stuff. And there's two different perspectives about this. So I'm just going to play this. I don't even know if I'm supposed to, but I'm going to, because this is so important for everyone in the spiritual community to understand how this fake Michael program got started, and because this is the extent that everything's being changed from an Anunnaki base even. So let me play this.
In 2003, BC, our good buddy Toth, who the universe was very proud of and the founders loved dearly, because of all he had done to try to help
Can y'all hear it?
the Anunnaki races, he caved into pressure, and he orchestrated something we call the Great Deception. Because he was so trusted, he was allowed into the colonies of the Iani, the Ascended Masters groups that had come here. They had come here to use Stargate 6 to open it. It's something called the Halls of Amareya Passage. It's in Stargate 6. It runs from Sirius B down into Earth. It's like a passage connected to the main passages. They were going to use it to run enough frequency to override the Nibiru Diodic crystal grid, where it was coming out in what is now the area of Stonehenge. Toth was supposed to assist in that process. He was also given Questador Tour Plate 11. Now these plates are discs. They're small discs
11.
that store all of the information that has to do with the race history here, the planetary history, but also the race history that went up further into the higher harmonics. He was supposed to translate verbally, not auditory, not in written form, because there's too much corruption to put it in written form on the planet at then. He was supposed to take collectives of the Anu Melchizedek races, which were half human, half Anunnaki, and he was supposed to teach them the truth, the law of one. He was supposed to teach them the Maharata realities, the inner Christos. He was supposed to begin to teach them these things. Another little thing about the Questador Tour plates, these are frequency holders and transmitters. They can also transmit frequency that activates something else called a signet shield. There were 12 Questador Tour plates that were created at the same time as 12 signet shields. These look like hubcaps. Okay? They're bigger than the plates. You have the small plate, and you have a signet shield. The signet shields were given to the angelic human races in 2,460 BC, no, 246,000 BC, 246,000 BC. As part of the Emerald Covenant, they're remote activators for the Stargates. Okay?
Remote activators.
Without the plate that goes with it. Toth was entrusted with plate 11 in order to transmit information, to help the Melchizedek races, some of them, the ones that weren't totally corrupt at that point, to go into the light and to start, going into bioregenesis. He made a decision to side with the rest of his families, with the Enki family. We call it Toth Enki because that is a particular group. Toth Enki is the Enki Anunnaki family that crossed with the Zephelium Draconians, which are the ones that created the Zetas. So you can be like Toth Enki Zeta races. Right. Then there's the Marduk lines that cross with the Omicron Draconians, which are the ones that look like dragons. So there's different families of Anunnaki up there. Toth gave into the pressure of the thought of a united Anunnaki nation, where all these usually warring factions of Anunnaki, bunches of them were agreeing to come back together, and they were going to create a new paradise, and they were going to take good care of this time matrix, so I guess it was okay to take it over. He betrayed the founders, and he betrayed everyone who had trusted him, and he had, for thousands of years, he had worked the Emerald Covenant and done tremendous things for the races, so he was very well loved. But he himself came in to the Iani colonies. The Iani colonies were on what was the remainder of the Lemurian continent. There wasn't much left of the Lemurian continent after it was destroyed in 50,000 BC, but there were some island nations left. The Iani colony was put on the area where the activator site for Stargate 12 was. Not the gate, but the activator site, the Q site, which are even more important than the sites themselves because you can't activate the site.
Q.
Activate the activator site first. Q site. This area is now Kauai, Hawaii. They put the colony there because they needed to activate Gate 12 activator site connected to the Halls of Ave Maria D6 Stargate to run enough frequency through to break the Nibiru and Diodic crystal grid link. And that's what they were trying to do. Toth came in and handpicked a few Melchizedek priests, got them in because he was trusted, got them into the priest caste that were working with the Templar mechanics. Even though they're Melchizedek, we weren't prejudiced against Melchizedeks. As long as they were working the Emerald Covenant and could be trusted, they were welcome too to help with the planetary grids. He got them in to an 11-year program, or like 10 or 11-year program, of progressively working up to the point as a Melchizedek priest, where they would be able to go to the island, the hidden city on the island, and work the big project, which was to break Nibiru and hold on the grids. And he got a group of priests in, Melchizedek priests, and they sabotaged the whole mission. And then Toth came in himself when it all went to heck. There were raids that came in directly from Nibiru, and Toth was with one of them that landed in the Iani, on the Iani settlement. He gave them an opportunity, the Iani priests, they were given the opportunity they needed female breeders on Nibiru to get the codes. So the Iani women were offered an opportunity. If you don't want your husbands tortured and killed and sent over as basically fish bait to the corrupt Atlantean temples, we'll let them go, but you come with us. Toth offered that deal. This is a good example of how wonderful things and horrible things can live in the same body. A bunch of the Iani women went to try to save their husbands. It was even worse, though, because the Great Deception came in here. They were told. Now, we were all isolated, and I say we because I was there. That was one of my incarnational places. We came into an experience where all of a sudden there are spaceships coming from everywhere, and they're landing on the island, and they're Nibiruan spaceships.
Those big cylinders.
Oh, no, what happened? They had jammed our communication lines to the inner Earth races and to Sirius B,
Which is your mind.
Outposts that we could receive off-planet information. We were told that they had control of the planet itself, that they'd taken the whole thing already. We were told that Alcyon Council, it's the Palladian Council that works with Sirius B and the rest of them, had surrendered because they had, won certain battles. We would have been left to believe that there was nothing left. And they had said, if you don't agree to come with us, we'll not only torture your husband, we're going to blow up the whole place because we don't need it. We'll get inner Earth, and then we'll destroy all the races on the face of the planet. So if you the other life forms on this planet, you'll agree to be our breeders. You'll agree to come to Nibiru with us. Because if you don't, we'll do horrible things to this planet. We were under the understanding that, this is really bad. They have control of the whole thing. And without Alcyon Council to hold Gate 5, that meant they had Gate 5, not just Gate 4. That meant that the only hope of fixing anything was to stay alive long enough to try to figure out what to do next. So a bunch of the Iani women, because they thought that that's the way the reality was, the way it had been painted, they went with them to Nibiru to be breeders. But they didn't get to go before they got to be breeders. They had to make sure they were pregnant. There was a selection that was done. Only the best of them were chosen. Boy, did that imprint come through with us now. I think women get their total insecurity about how they look because they were treated like meat. Only the ones that had the right genetic characteristics, the right eye color, the right hair color, the right proportions, were allowed to even be selected. You gotta remember, Iani women were guardian women. They also came in as part of what's called a gender twin set. They came in with their twins, something called the Maharic twins, which are their D12 level Christos twins. They're genetically bonded together, Iani twins. Male and female couples. They come in at the same time, and they have strand 1 through 6 polarized and separate, but strands 7 through 12 are bonded. So they're literally one being when you get to D7. They split up the Iani gender twin couples, and they forced the women to become breeders of Anunnaki. They raped them when necessary. If they liked one that didn't want to play the selection thing, go ahead, kill me and my mate, I don't care, we hate you. You know, that kind of thing. You're doing something terrible, we're not going to help you. They would rape them instead, and if they happened to be able to get them to conceive, they would cycle.
Okay. Now y'all bear with me. I told you one of the first things I've lost in all this is my vanity. It's the 23rd, we're on this full moon, and I've seen this video before, but it's been months ago. And I don't even know if it's this exact one. I've seen this woman. This is one of the women that I'm talking about that looks like in the 80s or 90s were channeling all of this. They were awakening. They were getting their information. They what they just described, I walked in this life. Every bit of it. And everything that you've been watching happen to all of us since the get of this channel in 2017. And it has been us breaking that. Now, there's so much about that, and please forgive me, I've got a headache this morning. You might have a headache, you might be congested a little bit more, you might just be feeling just out of it, like when you're driving around and stuff, feeling like you're in your own little world. So first I want to talk about the video, because number one, Thoth, which Thoth is Egyptian, Thoth is your mind, Thoth is Mercury, the planet, Thoth is Hermes, Thoth is in the Egyptian hierarchy, deity hierarchy, for those of us that were closest connected to the mummification process, the Queen's Chamber, the King's Chamber, Giza Plateau, the cosmic alignment, the Earth time clock. Now, I want to preface all this by saying I've been saying it for years, and I'll keep saying it because it's the truth and more information is coming in. The Egyptian women had a plan from the get, in order to beat this. We knew that this was going to happen. Just in another timeline, it was H.P. Blavatsky working with the India Masons in the in-between timelines, but the same thing. The Egyptian Queen's Pyramid, the reason that the Egyptian princesses posed at, and even all the stuff was allowed with the brother stuff and the purification, marrying the brothers, and the Egyptian women that doubled as pharaohs and that built most of the major Egyptian, oh God, now I can't even think of the name. So there's obelisks where they were, the Valley of the Kings, all of that was built by the Egyptian feminine, not the masculine. And us high priestesses at that time that were the teachers that you had to come to mystic school. It was part of it. If you were in the royal lines, then you were chosen to come. Not everybody could come and get this information. But those of us who were running those courses and classes, which you would consider the high court of the spiritual everything, that were also even moving the rocks and holding the energy for everybody to build it and be able to do it the way they did it. All of that was being run by the feminine high priestess, is at that time is what you'd call us, collective. This is how, and this is where we set up for this timeline that we just walked. Gate 11 and the 11th seal is significant because this is Stranger Things. This is 11 opening up the gate to hell, closing the gate to hell. I mean, we've done all that in this life. The other significance to that, and her detail is amazing, man. I want to meet this woman. I hope she's still out there. I need to go look her up. But signet, the signets, SIGNET. Well, if you go look up PhD Fife, this is the man who put me in the chamber in Texas A&M when I was 11 years old. And it was a submarine. It was the hypobaric chamber. I talked about it for a second the past couple of days. They did the needles in my neck and did the serum in my neck first. Then under Texas A&M, they put me in this submarine and would drop me 25 feet below sea level. Well, that man ran 2 programs for the Air Force. He was U.S. Air Force, and he was highly decorated Air Force. He had been involved with a ton of different infiltrations throughout the world. He was like one of the first parachuters, all this crap. The 2 programs that he was running, one of them was called, guess what? Signet. SIGNET. It was called Signet. The other one was Comint. COMINT. Or Comint. No N. COMIT. COMIT. The corporation of MIT is nuts. Those are the 2 programs that put MK Ultra to shame. You can basically think of MK Ultra got built from these original programs that were all happening in 1983. Now this is why I've been telling everybody what's changing in your world and what's coming for all of us is the appropriate timeline that you should have been in 1983. Because in 1983, everything changed for the whole world. Everything changed for the whole world because this was happening again. this was the base root of this twin program, and why many of us came in and had certain children. We had to get them back into the realm in order to save entire races. This is the program that kept this whole illusion running for way, way too long, over 900 years. This is the program that we just escaped from. Now, I want to go back to 2018 in my world. It was the first big cross-country trip that I had to take. And now I'm thinking it's 2019. I can't remember. I did so many in 2018 and 2019 really get merged for me. Pretty sure it was before I blew out of the Matrix. So I blew out of the Matrix at the beginning of 2019. So it had to have been 2018. And I had to, when I was packing to leave, I honestly didn't think I was going to make it back alive. Now, I had to leave the house several times like that in the first couple of years. But this one was even more significant. And I know that a lot of you have had experiences and pressures like this, but you didn't maybe know what it was when you were getting ready to do something that had never been completed before by everyone else in your line, and you were jumping into that part of the story where everybody always was taken out. And for me, as I was packing, because I was taking pretty much everything that I owned. That's kind of how it started. It's like I was packing up and leaving. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't have much money, and I'd have to go meet somebody to clear land, whatever. And I was crying the whole time because I was being shown by the Aborigine ancestors, by the Indian ancestors, by even Anglo-Saxon characters and Egyptian characters. All of them were around me, almost like in a circle, and they were showing me every time we went up that mountain, because if you were in the breeding program and you were being utilized to, and it wasn't just one family. Realize this is the breeding of the human race we're talking about. We're not talking about one little ass family. We ain't talking about this. I've been talking about this. I talked about it yesterday. There's no way to clear the human race from all of this without doing the entire human race. This is what created 13 families. But 13 DNA lines that are connected and run the whole world, the whole human race. And I had to get to Flagstaff. It was the first AB negative that I met. She was on YouTube. I'm not going to say her name. I've talked about her before, but before we even, now I'm remembering too, before I even went to meet her, we had to protect and fly her from New York to Flagstaff, Arizona. And when she was flying from New York to Flagstaff, Arizona, and her energy, that her AB negative and what she was the AB negative of was basically all the Queen Esther stuff. She ended up proving Queen of the Jews, but that was it. I went to go meet her at a hotel in Flagstaff, and for the first 13 hours of the drive, because I had an address that I'd put into Waze, and when I got 13 hours into the drive, I realized, oh shit, that's not the address of her hotel. Where did that address even come from? And I knew not to change it. It was an hour further, from driving from Texas into Flagstaff. It was an hour further, but I knew I had to go there first. So I did. When I got up to this very specific And I kind of have an idea. It's like if you're going to Flagstaff, you just keep going. It's up the mountain. It's about an hour, but it's straight up the mountain. Flagstaff's kind of like at the bottom. And when I finally got up there, there was really nothing there but, and I can't remember the exact name. The street was named Star something. Star and then another word. I can't remember the other word. But there really wasn't anything there except I saw this street named Star something, and it was a really short street. And I'm hearing drive it, drive it, drive it. Now, mind you, this is the first collective bind that I broke, because I want to remind everybody, and this is how it happens to you. If you happen to be the being that is the highest and lowest frequency sent to these places, it's not just our power that's opening up the thing, it's our power ignites everything else that's ever happened there. And we're basically like a match for the rest of the collective, for whatever's built on top of it, and for all the good stuff that people have laid as well. So this little, it was the same name. It was one little street, one little street, one little street. And it was like this little box. Well, actually, it kind of looked like a flag. In the area looked like this strange little land, and there was something on it. It wasn't a building, it wasn't a commercial, but it wasn't anything like inhabitable, but I remember there was something on in the middle. And I drove and I went this direction, and as I went this direction, because it's real small, it's like it from ways, it literally looked like a golf flag that you set on a hole. It looked like a golf flag. When I got to this right here, before I did this final one, I turned around because I started hearing this energy. And mind you, this was all new to me at the time. This was kind of like the first time. So I'm hearing something, and it was a low, dense Osiris type energy. And I turn around, and there's a mountain, like a mound mountain that was across the road. It was a little bit further away, but when I turned around and I saw it, all I could see on the side of that mountain was an ancient man, an image of an ancient man, like a chief, like I don't. And the first thing that came to my mind when I saw that was, oh shit, I just woke up Montezuma. And I knew. I took some pictures. I was staring at it. I was like, "Oh my God, what the fuck did I just do?" I drove the rest of the way. I get back on the road because it's real small, like I said. And now I'm at the top of the mountain. Now I'm just trying to get to the hotel because I've been driving, I don't know, 15, 16 hours. And as I'm driving down the mountain, it was April. It was definitely at the end of March or April. And it started a blizzard at the very top of the mountain, just a blizzard. It was snowing so hard that I couldn't even see the road for about 10 minutes. Then as I'm driving down, it comes full sun. So I went full blizzard to full sun. And whenever that sun popped out, all these crazy, I call them plasma clouds, because they are. It's more like the clouds are forming to your energetic. And so not everybody has this, but whenever you have a lot of that plasma energy in your body and then the clouds are actually forming to show you a picture of what's coming out of your DNA. They're not always here, but those plasma clouds were forming. And so there was like 2 plasma clouds behind me at first, and it was like all at once. Now y'all know that I speak all the light languages, all of them. But in the origin, before I went through the weird Antarctica and or Hawaii. See, I won't confuse you. When 11/11/2018, whenever we merged all this stuff, I only spoke 2 light languages. But when I came through that weird mountain, it's a gray one. I'll know it when I see it. I speak in all of them. Zeta Reticuli, Mermaid. I mean, all of them. This was Alpha Draconic, and so all of a sudden I hear Dad. These plasma beings behind me, I would call like Dragon Dad, Dragon Mom, and Dad's like, "Rah!" I mean, he was mad. He was so mad, and he and basically, I mean, he woke up screaming. And then right then, this other cloud pulled up over here in front of me. These two are over here. I'm channeling what they're saying now to this cloud, and this cloud was brother. Now, in our world, that even ended up being Nikolai from the Russians. We always had this brother that was always screwing us over. Even Jesus, even Jesus, even Jesus, not Joshua, but Jesus, because of what this video is about and what happened. And Father is screaming at brother, how could you do this to your sister? How could you do this to your own? How could you do this to your sister? And brother's just like, in his mind, he's going, how the fuck did these just wake up? Then all of a sudden, mom comes in, and she's like, and she's telling brother, go get his crew. We gotta clean it up, and we'll deal with you later. But she's doing it, darling, please go get your crew. You know, please go get your crew. We have to clean this up, and we'll deal with you later. And literally the cloud takes off, like as soon as that was said, because this wasn't a long drawn out conversation. This happened all pretty quick. Now I'm still driving down the mountain. Now, I mean, because it went full blaring sun, like I couldn't see. Now it's raining. I get down to the hotel, and this AB negative comes out of the hotel, and now it's snowing in Flagstaff in April and March. But it's not just snowing, it's snowing seeds. They're like, not even ice pellets. It look like seeds falling out of the sky. But when I first got there, it's kind of happening everywhere. Then as I'm putting my stuff in the hotel, it's only snowing on me. And I asked this girl, I'm like, I'm tripping out. I'm like, it's only snowing on me. Like look, like it's like a band around me now. And she's like, oh yeah, that's never happened to you before? No. But she had CIA mom, she had gay mom, she was in CIA, she was like a maid, she had these. We broke open Isaiah 54. We completed Isaiah 54. This is when Notre Dame the dragon came out of Notre Dame. That's because of what her and I did at the Howard Johnson in Flagstaff. Right after this happened. We had to spend hours, because she was telling me what number 1 meant, what number 2 went, what number 3 went, what was in their world. And it was like, I can't remember, but it was all so insane. It's like number 2 is called the Matrix and tell it to come down. Number 3 is, I mean, basically it was directions on how to jump into our timelines. And I had the base root of what those really meant per the original Masonry and numerology that the original Masonry was built on. And so we had to merge those two. It took us hours and a lot of arguments because that's what all this is about. You've got to make something new, and it has to work for both. And we did. we came up with some new call symbols. We had to, and I'm like, okay, I understand that this is what you were using it for, but let me tell you what it really is. So, you know, how can we fix this? And that whole trip ended with her kicking me out of her hotel at 8 o'clock at night. Her guides telling her that I can't stay there and making me leave. I had no money, and I freaked out at first, but then I caught a snap, and I knew I had to go to the green room. If you're familiar with Flagstaff, it's called the green room, and this is where I literally walk in this night, and there's 4 men dressed like pirates, like full on fucking pirates. I full on. Well, actually, there was 5 because there was 4 at the table, and then the little short one that was at the bar is the one who came up and talked to me. And I was like, "What is this, pirate night?" Like, and I was in Dad's energy. I walked Dad's energy for a good 2 or 3 years. I basically, Dad used my avatar to take me to all the back room saloons where the DNA was being sold, where the pirates were, how I mean, because even there were certain vape stores that you'd go to and you'd buy certain things that weren't priced, and it alerted them that you were there. Like, all of this is going on in right in front of your eyes. But that's the energy that I was in. And there was, the pirates were trying to drug this girl. They were trying to pull these women in the thing. Is like, this whole is freaking crazy. It's crazy. Is all about selling DNA. And then they ended up that night that I ended up in the Kachina suite somewhere, like not having a place to stay, to the Kachina suite. Right after I left Flagstaff, I had to go to Vegas. And I wasn't in the Vegas grid system. I was right outside of it. There was 2 women that were on the polo that were a part of this. And one of them had an October 1st birthday. And this particular girl was being groomed in order to take over our energy, and part of that was literally 6 years of subconscious rape and torture. And that's why I came to meet her, because all this was happening to her, and it just happened to her all at once. And it had been going on for 5 or 6 years, all in her subconscious, but she was getting raped and tortured the entire time. She couldn't snap out of it. Like, what I came to realize is that that's what was happening. They were, because I saw her template arrive in the London court, in London, in the royal court. Later on. So I was there at the full moon of Libra. I was there in Vegas, and I was in Dad's energy, and because we had to reclaim Vegas. And because all of our DNA, of this Anunnaki DNA, and all the hybridization and the breeding programs and blah, 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 because it is how it all links into these different sedation levels, and it does really give you the ability to rule the world the way it was made. October 2000, because it started 2018 so it was around the full moon of Libra. That year, because that clearing was significant for what all came next. It wasn't until October 2019 that I was sent back to Vegas to officially take dominant energy of Las Vegas, with what all of us had been clearing and doing between, in the time that happened between. And that's where I met the Carlos character. That's where they did the fire magic on us. That's where they tried to lock me in the. I mean, that's the October. As soon as we claimed that Hunt for Red October was over, that they had found us. Now, who was us? The Assyrians, the Assyrian breeding program, and the women. Now fast forward to 2020, I couldn't get to Hawaii. See, this is why they stopped me from going to Hawaii. This is why Hawaii has been such a big piece of this. This is why people that were trying to take it from me, some of you went to Hawaii thinking that you were reporting to me, and you weren't. You weren't ever hearing me in your head. You was hearing this Thoth character. But I mean, this is why they stopped us from going to Hawaii. This is why Hawaii has been such a pivot point for this whole thing. But Hawaii is only a connector into the Antarctica grids. When she said gate 5, we knew that they had gate 5. Well, I just showed y'all that on the M-Sun chart. You have the 55, freaking this long stretch that has Aquarius in it, that they turned it upside down and they were holding it in a parallel. They were using us to breed energies that could live in it. It was April, I think, end of March, 1st of April, that Carlos and Ari and I had to start traveling again. Because I didn't make it to Hawaii, and I literally didn't, because it's like I had to create, like, why couldn't I get to Hawaii? There should have been nothing stopping me from getting to Hawaii, and since they did, then I had to pull over at the airport and be like, okay, what the fuck? Where am I supposed to go now? Because I know I'm not supposed to go back to the Epstein house. I mean, because I was staying at Natalia's house. She was one of Epstein's girls. This is how deep, this is what all this has been about. And then I was told, you've got to call Ari Carlos. I'd only talked to that dude at the Oasis. It's a trip out experience. And I called him, and he did a video on TikTok talking about some of this and me, and explaining his side of what happened. All of it nice about me, by the way. Not bad. Telling you the truth. And that's when him and I had to start traveling. And the first place that we had to go through was Las Vegas. And it was during the COVID, and they only had the sex hotels open that are on the outskirts. And we ended up at, I keep seeing Armetris, but it's not Armetris. It's whoever the feminine moon goddess, I can't remember her name right now. It's that hotel. And because we were unweaving and walking the in-between timelines of what all this was built off of. Now, I want to remind everybody that in Utah, the Mormons were working with the mafia for this entire time of Las Vegas and bringing in this special suitcase every month. They were bringing in a special suitcase every month from Utah. And I want to remind everybody that the Mormons had all of the records. And I want to remind everybody that this is how RLDS and all this polygamy and created Time Lords. And this is how. Because we were, and this is what I talked about all the different Ostera babies, and if you've ever sacrificed to be Earth in your line, or if you're in the line, this is the line. The line is the stolen women that had twin sets from the 7th dimension to the 12th dimension. Well, the 13th dimension is the Queen's Pyramid and the Queen's Chamber. The 15th dimension is King's Chamber, and that's the Matrix. We know now that they were stealing a lot, not just your money, everything in between, your future children, everything from the sixth to the eighth dimension. And I know most of that was hinged down here in Texas because we had to break it. We also had to come undone from those twin sets because and realize this is what they did to the entire this ended up fucking over and fucking up the consciousness of the males more than the females. This is what the Egyptian women and high priestesses knew would happen. This is why we kept the biggest secret of all time. This ain't about the biggest love story of all time. This is about the biggest secret of all time. And it's not what you think. The secret is that we had a way out of it. The secret is that we had always been planning for this because the whole world was going to go unconscious, even the Melchizedek priests. What the whole emerald tablets and the whole thing and the whole plan and why the whole thing even happened to begin with was because at the end of days the entire collective loses consciousness, loses their mind literally, and their bodies get taken over. This was what they knew that no one else knew. Now there's so much, man. I could fill in the blanks in so many different areas, but I want to jump forward now. To 2022. They've already tried to spinal tap me now. See, because all of us that are I think what you call them, Assyria, all of us that were chosen to be in the breeding program and left. Once those DNA races were made, once because Nibiru comes around, this is why you only really have a chance to fix this at 12,000 years, at 14,000. Like Nibiru only comes around a certain time in order to connect to the human race. This is why we were lost for so long, because it takes so long to even connect to get back down here. And then every time that we were still down here. So we didn't realize we's up there because we's unconscious and being projected by this time because it had been going on for so long. And every time that they used one of us to birth a human race, then they would chain us to the infrastructure to hold them. So it's like half of our energy body would stay down here. The other half was like now going through another click, a cycle, whether that be 1,000,000 years, 20,000 years, 12,000 years, whatever. This was a 36,000 year. The procession is a 36,000 year cycle. In this round, we were clearing for 1,000,000 because Regulus had moved. Like, this is how long this has been going on. So half of your body stays down here, the other half goes up there with the other, with whatever, and this is how the flat Earth even was made. This is how flat Earth was made, and this is why in 1972, all of us who, because the Ascended Masters started coming in 72. The Indigo Children started coming in 60. In 72 is when all of us that were in the breeding program that had been utilized to breed the whole fucking world for human race, which is basically their own family, because this is two different groups of Anunnaki. the government, the United States government, even knew about it. That's why they knew that we were being born back here in 1972, because that's what time it was. So basically, all of us that had created this matrix started being birthed back into the realm, holding all of these million-year clicks. But they knew that in 72 is when we would have to come in, because it's time for it to be done again, and it's time for it to connect. Hi, Flo. I've been on TikTok, but I got banned for a minute for telling the truth. So now I'm back over here, and I need to start doing both, but it's just different messages, different applications. And I needed to put this on here, not on TikTok. There's a whole bunch of shit going on. We're clearing through ancient tech that's never been cleared through before. Connected to your real tech. This is how we're changing it. So now I want to fast forward to 2022. This is when they tried to spinal tap me in Anaheim. It was a 2-year process. They were all doing it under Lionsgate. So obviously, Lionsgate is gate 5. This is why I just said 1922. See, 1922 could be the last time that August moon worked appropriately. August 1922 was the last time you had a true Lionsgate. From 1922 to 2022. 2022 is when the gate got taken down. We basically had to close up that artery, if you will, and then what we've been doing is transmuting everything that was stuck in the channels that wasn't supposed to be there. We were able to do that because we put the skeleton keys in the moon. We did that when the harvest moon 2022, as they were trying to harvest the human collective. I was on the Hermosa Pier in California, putting in the skeleton keys to the moon. The skeleton keys are the skeleton keys that go through gate 5. That's what we've been rebuilding to its original origin. Basically, those 2 races of Anunnaki, the ones that came before them and then the ones that they built, all had to be blended up and put into one template holder. And that's what we are now. That's how we created new blood. Anunnaki's changing. Alpha Draconids changing. Zeta Reticuli changing. All of them are changing because we were the breeders. You used us in order to make it all. And then all that they've been doing is stopping us from completing the genome strand so that they could maintain control of the human race. And this is Anunnaki. But there was always, it's basically like the black Dracos and the white Dracos. 2018, the beginning of 2018 is when us as a collective started clearing the Draco dimensions and the Draco DNA for the very first time in human history. Nobody else had even been up there but these particular group of Anunnaki. So the skeleton keys had just gone in September 2022. I get taken back to the Pegasus place, ExxonMobil building. They try to lock me in again in California. Y'all helped me get out. You really did. Like, is a nightmare. I get out. I make it back to Texas. And then a year later, no, September. I get kicked out of my house. Like a bunch of shit goes down here because basically I'm dead. So everybody's reacting to me because I'm dead. Literally. I have to go to Oklahoma. I have to deal with the Amber Heard spell. I have to deal with Oklahoma and a Norman spell. The Oklahoma was set on the top of the hat because most of us that were in the breeding program were all down here in the United States because the rest of the world was using us to make their people, but all attach it to the United States. This is why the United States looks like the slums right now, and the rest of the fucking world looks fucking better. But this is why the United States ended up being the hinge to the whole fucking world. Everybody having to siphon from the energy of the United States. This is why. Who sends the United? Has anybody ever sent the United States any money? Like, why is the United States not getting any money? Why does the United States have to? Well, I'm telling you, this is why. They've always known. All the rest, all NATO, all of that, all of it was only there in order to control any of us who had these DNA connections in the United States so that they could produce all these other fucking assholes for us to clear. And that's what they kept doing. They kept making new races. They would put all their karma in the race. They'd make us clear it. Then we'd have to clear all the way through it, and then they would never let us finish clearing it. They would trap us in it and then label us and then put us down. By October of 2022 is when I started having to deal with the Philadelphia Project, and we had to get a girl out of Philadelphia. It took us 2 days to even get her on the plane. When she flew in, 3 days later is when the 1947 bomber plane came out of nowhere about 15 miles from here at a Dallas air show where I'd had an incident before where they were, and hit another plane, but it just came out of nowhere. We knew that we had basically crash landed in a 30-30 timeline. When she was here, and this is when I was talking about this the other day, it was like shadow and shadow having to work together at this point. And when she was here, and she's a shadow walker, this girl, she was a shadow walker. She had lucid dreams. She could change the matrix in her sleep. She was always in a mission, being thinking that she was doing good, thinking that she was escaping the right people and blah 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 blah. But she, some of the time she was, but she was also being utilized to do stuff to us in the other dimension by us not looking the right part or whatever, because they're only us that had connections into anybody who was only made from the program would be able to even see it. And so but the ones that were monitoring at this point, they were utilizing all of us to take each other out because we were the only ones that could take each other out. No one else had the ability, power, or foresight or sight. She had a dream as we were clearing through this because she slept right next to me. And so it's like, you know, when we're right on top of each other, we're in each other's energy 100. And so she had a lucid dream, and she was sent on a mission, and she woke up in the morning. She comes screaming to me because she saw me. She was on a mission with some other people. They were all dressed in black, kind of like a cat suit type situation, they were having to scale and get into this massive tall building. Now, I don't know if it's the building that it was, but as soon as she said it, I was thinking about that really tall building in Japan. They even did a movie about it way back with Catherine Zeta-Jones. Zeta. I seen that building, and she got in, and they were looking for me. This whole crew was looking for me. And she got into the building, and she found me in a wheelchair, pregnant, with a bomb wrapped around my waist. And she said, I ran up to you and I was screaming to you and you were so out of it. She was like, you were so out of it. You weren't conscious at all. And I was like screaming at you, wake up, wake up. You're not where you think you are. You're not where you think you are. And I don't remember what changed or what snapped me out of it. But she said, all of a sudden you looked straight at me and I knew you were completely conscious. And you said, get out of here. I got this. There's 20 more of me below me. Now, as we talked about this, because there was a lot of telepathic information that was being shared, there wasn't actually voice, but what she knew was that I thought in that other dimension that this was my twin's child, this was my husband's child, that he loved me, that he was taking care of me, like, but she said where you were was the most awful scene she'd ever seen, like where I really was. It wasn't even a clean hospital. It wasn't a clean nothing. It was a complete illusion. And so that has been since October, end of October, 1st or in November 2022, that we were going to get the other 20 that were being held just like me and attached even to these twin sets that they had made fake ones about. This is also whenever I went to California the first time in 2020 and my energy merged and I went into a whirlpool with what I thought was my twin, but this is all this MJ12 stuff as well. This is how this got all thrown out of whack. Now, and why we had to take Michael out of the game, because Michael was basically Melchizedek, but over time the Melchizedek Omicron line had been diminished so much and everybody had just become to like, and nobody knew about the secret plan. It's like the Zeta Anunnaki just became the Anunnaki. And this is why Saudi Arabia, they're a bunch of Zeta Reticuli, I'm telling you. I'm telling you. But this is the Michael hack, because Michael was made from Melchizedek. But see, it's going all the way out to these Egyptian deities because they are real entities. And especially in the in-between. They were basically made in the in-between to hold this energy for us in order to complete it. And my head's really starting to hurt now. So so now, all of that being said, if you go back to the beginning of the video that this woman is speaking about, where it says why Thoth did it. Because why did Thoth do? What was the original reason that Thoth did this? Because he's been like us. He was down here trying to fix it this whole time and nobody was listening. Nobody was helping. Nobody was giving us anything. Nobody was even giving us a place to stay. Nobody, he was attacked so hardcore, and that Anunnaki bloodline needed infiltration in a way in order to preparate it to break. And it had to wait for the human race. It had to wait for these lineups. It had to wait for 2024. It's like so much was built already that the mind count was going to get taken over. 2000 was going to get taken over. Y2K was going to come in. Like all these timelines that happened, we were already in a way seeing them, because 2,430. Okay, well, just BC, before Christ. All right, well, 2,430 AD. Same thing. 4004 BC is whenever we pulled the planet at 88D down here in Aurora, Colorado. But it wasn't supposed to happen again until 4004 AD. If there wasn't been an infiltration. But since there was an infiltration and all this was going on, 4004 AD's already happened down here, and it blew up AD. Because now there's no 4004. Now there's no 2,340. It's already happened. There isn't even a timeline in the future to jump into. It's already happened. It was already pulled in here. Because of all of us, the ones that were breeding us. This is how this all got so out of control, to the extent that there didn't even need to be any sex anymore. We undid all of this and stayed virgins. Realized that sex was a part of building the whole thing. But it got to a point where you weren't even having sex with nobody. You was just getting sent a bunch of codes to process. You never even met the motherfuckers. It was all on some type of contract somewhere, and then they do this, and this, and send the energy to you, make you process their karma, make you process their bullshit. And then they were going and being evil as fucking hell because they knew that they had us to clean them. Not anymore. But we had to change the whole fucking bloodline in order to do it. So in a way, Thoth also knew that. Now, I'm not defending the energy. What I'm doing is explaining both sides of it, because realize that there became many thoughts. There became many down here. But nothing was complete. Nothing had completed. So and I can't help but talk about this whole thing and talk about Maldek. Because this same thing, this same story that she told about Thoth, and this highest level of understanding how we got back in here, how we know all this stuff about the stargates and all that, how we can maneuver space, and this is why. Because everybody that we had breed and all of our descendants made the space, and the space is attached to us. Because the reason that there is space is because we kept getting pulled away from our descendants and our children, and it stretched us. It stretched us in the cosmos. It created space. It's what created your stars. Every single time okay, we come in and make an Orion breed. They breed us all. They make us do Orion. Well, then you get a star. With the entire collective attached to it. What do we want to make them do in order to get the right frequency with what they're attached to on Earth? Let's fuck with their program. That's what was happening. But this is how beings like me and beings like a lot of you, this is how we can do what we can do out there. It's not rocket science. It's actually pretty fucking easy. But it's why you have to do everything with your heart. In the Maldek dimension of this story, the Galactic Federation would not allow us to intercede. This is basically the same thing that's happening with Biden right now. Like, I saw a TikTok video yesterday, and this guy's in like Israel or something, and he's going, United States, get on your phone and call your congressman, help us. And I'm like, seriously, dude, you think we can control them? They're trying to take us out too. We can't control them. If y'all hadn't been watching, nobody's in control here. United States ain't getting a say in any of this shit. In fact, it's whatever. I mean, it's nuts. Like, come on, people, wake the fuck up. Your United States of America got taken over. If that's what's controlling the rest of the world, y'all got a big fucking problem on your hands. And this is how we're so powerful in this realm. This is why it scares the shit out of us, because we can change what we can change. But I'm telling you why we can. This is even how Jesus got projected down here. That's what blows my mind. Everybody's waiting for someone to freaking be projected and freaking resurrect and be a ghost person right in front of them. But you're not realizing what it took to project that motherfucker down here. There ain't no women up there to project them down here. We're all down here. You missed it. Galactic Federation would not let us intercede. Now, mind you, we had already gotten clearance because this is a free will planet. And you can't mess with the human race. Like, we weren't even allowed to come in here and attempt to try to change it until the human race was at a point of 50% that knew something was wrong, because we weren't able to intercede into free will. But by this point, you had Libra and Aries that had completely, I mean, then basically all of us in that Assyria breeding program, we ended up Libra. We ended up being Libra, stuck in the wheel, creating two seams, creating two parallels. But if you have a lot of Libra energy, you definitely in it. This is what created boots. This is why they're boots. They're not twins. It's boots. You're booted together. And it created a false wheel. It created a false sun alignment. But it took a really long time to build it. Now, Galactic Federation, let me go back, because the reason we were able to intercede and we got the clearance, like universal law clearance, basically the highest clearance that really didn't even require somebody to hear our case. But the reason that the whole thing had been opened up, even within our minds and in our concepts, is because if we would not have been able to pull this off, this realm with all the humans on it would have been thrown out into the orbit of Mars and Jupiter, and everything would have died. There would not have been anything. If there would have been two algae that could have produced a new algae, if there would have been two living organisms of anything that could have reproduced anything in order to start it all over, we wouldn't have even been allowed to come in here. But since that's the state that we were in, because this had gone on so long, and basically what they had done is that Assyrian Anunnaki DNA had been farmed out so much, it ceased to exist. It had already been replicated and done so many times, because realize all those women, all we were at that point was basically kind of like living dragons. We had all the codes connected into the human race. It's what we were built. That's what he had. He had the 11th gate. That's what he was using. He was using the skeleton key. And if you dip in and borrow from the neighbor, borrow from the neighbor, borrow from the neighbor, but never pay back the neighbor, then eventually the neighbor ain't got shit. And a decimal point ain't going to solve your problem anymore. This is where the decimal system came from. This is why Saint Sarah, when I proved Saint Sarah and put in those 3 different levels of tech codes inside your internet, this is why the decimal system is something I'm supposed to be controlling. But this is to the extent that money was being controlled by these breeding programs, because they kept just moving a goddamn decimal. They just pulled one of us off the shelf and been like, okay, let's recreate the 1700 race. All right, let's recreate the 1900 race. All right, let's go back to 1600. Let's go back to 1500. Let's just fucking do it all over again. Well, that's what happened in this round. Down to the royal marriages in the Vatican Church that were having to happen, because this was all about 1555. In that middle dimension, so Archangel Michael went to the Galactic Federation to tell them what our plan was, because realize we were separated through space and time. This was just one DNA line, basically within the Anunnaki. If you didn't have any of this Anunnaki DNA subsets, then you wouldn't have got this message. If you were hybridized from the Anunnaki subsets, then in some way you got the message. But if you had the true Anunnaki from when this all was being done, built into the masonry, which is being mummified, which is what mummification was about, this is why. We had to make sure that the DNA strand stayed alive down here long enough for us to even get the Anunnaki message, which is why it was allowed to go on as long as it did. However, the Galactic Federation would not allow Michael and that group to intercede. Well, this is why. So what we had to do was blow up Maldek. And that's exactly what happened. Michael stationed a laser on top of Nibiru. As Nibiru was coming around, he stationed a laser on top of Nibiru now and shot at Maldek. Now, Maldek would have been considered like a draconian vacation planet. A parallel to Venus. But for the royal dragons, for the royal Anunnaki that was formed over time and ended up looking like reptiles, ended up looking like dragons, because why? They were stealing the DNA sequences from the Assyria. Is what they ended up looking like, because they's printing all the DNA sequences down here. When they blew up Maldek, the main reason was so that we would fall to Earth. Because Maldek is a program that was a parallel to Venus, and then Earth was down here. Uranus right here. All this over here is on the AI side. It's on the dense side. Not the light side where everything was being projected. Because remember, nothing was moving. It was on the dark side. So what happened? We blew it up because we knew we were attached to everybody down here. We're not gonna die. If you blow up this planet, we're gonna fall, but we're gonna fall into your Earth. This is fallen angels. This is all that shit. Elohim 1138 1111. Elohim is the O negative bloodline. We're all fallen angels. We all are. Some of us were sent here in order to clean it up. Now, the problem was once we fell, once we got down here, then they wouldn't let us out. Once we got down here, and we weren't on, because all of it culminated, because once we fell into the realm, then all of it started culminating because we were back. Not only that, every single galactic war, every single this and this and that was all going to somehow play out because it was in our codes, and those original codes were back on the planet. That's why we had them. We had to merge these DNA lines. This is how the Irish and the Terra, see, once we fell to Earth, then this is Ostera. This is the sacrifices of the woman and the baby into the land. You know, this is the other half of the story on how everything, how we're mountains, how we're buildings, how our energy's holding up fucking Turkey right now. Well, cut it. No 7 churches. Right now, with all the power invested in me, I command that this Thoth timeline be deleted across all history, and the Zeta Reticuli were never made. I take over the Zeta Reticuli as a hybrid space station, and that's your body, and you're getting it put back together. There is no Zeta Reticuli frequency that can override a true DNA match that had both sides. It's all been reworked, and I command that the entire Anunnaki system fucking fall. The Anunnaki system is now in the human race. Now that's the pieces that everybody's getting. This is the downloads everybody's getting. This is the information that's coming into the human race now, which it always should have been into our children. The way Enoch and the whole thing was set and prepared. And I command all infrastructure that was run by the Zeta and run by that Inky, Anunnaki, whatever the hell, I command that the true ascended take it over energetically. We just take it over. Whatever block was put into it in order to keep us from controlling the realm, but only able to breed it, I command it be removed, and I command us be shown. Now, everything I've said has everything to do with technology. Because realize that us being trapped down here after we got here is what created the Matrix. Now that's even part of our plan. The Syrians and the Vegans put up the Matrix. We put up the Matrix. We had to. If we wouldn't have put up the Matrix, everybody would have gotten radioactive. No human being down here could have made it. You couldn't have made it. You had to have connections into the highest dimension. We had to elevate and blow up our body templates in order to make the Matrix. Our energy became the Matrix. Basically, what I'm telling you is all of it was being subliminally coded through your ancestors' bodies. It's why you didn't realize you was in it. It's inside a techno womb. Call it a techno womb. That's a Matrix. That's a good one. Techno womb. And it was all being held through Hawaii at the time, which is completely surrounded by water. Not Antarctica surrounded by water, frozen to death, but Hawaii, hot, surrounded by water. I mean, World War II and Hitler, this. Part of it. All the DNA lines, like the Jewish people, that's their karma for doing this. I mean, I even know, for in the South, the African Americans that were getting hung by the IRA, that all happened in the 50s because of what they did just now. Because when the whole, we've been cleaning you have to realize we've been cleaning the Anunnaki, which was laid and attached to all of this, and was basically Anunnaki became all the bloodlines of the Egyptian plateaus, everybody that had died before, all the mummies, an entire template system, an entire DNA per system, every DNA on human record. What does that sound like? That sounds like the Mormons and Scientology. There it is. On a record. Their weird little gold disc they put up there. Probably in the 11th gate. which is how whenever I went inside the land and then had to rebirth the land and wait in the little cavity in order for the weird ass Indian man to come jack off on my head, because this is how they were doing it. And I had to alchemize all his fucking nasty ass energy, and then I blew out of the matrix, and now I've got all these crazy superpowers. Well, this is why. When they came to impregnate me this time, it was February 28th, 2019, and I had already been sent the Hopi codes, thousands and thousands of lines of codes. I'd already had to drink. They'd already locked me in a tunnel in Egypt through Facebook. They projected me into some tunnel. They had like 30 boys arm in arm facing into a hole. They had already projected me down in there. Then they had some guy come jack off on my head. Then I blew out of the matrix. Then I had to turn on helium and go investigate the gas that they made, Comex that they made in the chamber in order to even be able to breathe. I get sent into a Libra freaking judgment, and I see three motherfuckers in hell, in like hell arcs. Three of them show up right in front of me, and they all get set on fire. I'm gonna end this. But I was on yesterday or the day before, I think it was the day before, and I was seeing an image, and when I was going, dun, 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 that's what I was hearing in my head, and I did this in the video, and then I forgot what story it was, and I knew that it would all seem back up when it was time. Well, let me tell you this little bit, and then I'm gonna hang up. Because this is exactly what's happening right now. This is why everything's being rewritten. I'm telling you, to the extent that the plan was here in order to save the human race. I'm explaining to you how all of this has been happening. And I'm especially explaining to you who the fuck is in entertainment, who the fuck is in NATO, who the fuck took this over and started running it and making the consciousness lower and lower and lower. Because realize that the Inky Melchizedek order got taken over by AI first. We weren't even dealing, and at the end, we weren't even dealing with another version of ourselves. We were dealing with an AI generated DNA sequence built in order to mirror us, so that something could even show up, even in the tech, because it could never show up in the physical. Well, this is why. There wasn't a human form to hold to. This is why, no matter how much any entity that they had made throughout the tech, and this is the JM character, this is the HC character in my world, in my world, because I know all of y'all got versions of them, because it's one big fucking system. They just had their own little hierarchy. They had their own little hierarchy, that the same as the Egyptian line, but it'd be their pretend thoughts, their pretend whatever, but linked into Zeta Reticuli and AI and vaccines and everybody's brains and bodies down here, that was giving them the power and energy to run the world, just like Christ, but opposite. But opposite. When we talk about walking the Vector Pisces, realize that's what we were walking. We were walking the dark sides, and whatever the F-balls was going to happen, or did, it was like what happened before, what was going to happen. We were walking in the middle, but that's why we were connected into every single freaking human race sequence down here. Every single race, because they were all being printed and made from us. This is how the divine feminine went alpha draconic. This is how the moon ended up being artificial. This is how. But it don't mean that there ain't no real moon. It just means there haven't been a real one down here in a long time, because our energy was being used to make the artificial, not to make the real. The real's what's coming in. The real's what's here. The real's what nobody's ready for. It was 2018. Because at this point, they're still trying to find us. You know, they're still, because just Elon Musk, whenever all that stuff happened and I blew out of the Matrix, Elon Musk and Lady Rocket, they saw it blow up. The very next day, Elon's security clearance was taken away from him because I know he did something to help us. He did. He did. I don't know what it was, but I knew he did something in there to help us, and it might have even been blowing us up. Now, it was like 2 or 3 days after he released all the Tesla patents on the internet. He couldn't hold them anymore. Why? Because that energy was back on the planet. That's why none of the Tesla math is even working. That planetary grid that I show you with all the planets and how they're lined up from the Big Bang, that's the Tesla download. That Tesla download came into me January 6, 2019. Y'all didn't see repercussions of it until January 6, whenever the fuck Rumpy Rump did his little dance. But that's why. I got the download though. The information was already here. Whatever they tried to do didn't work. But this is how everyone was even able to bum rush the White House, because the White House was protected in ways and dimensions and basically had a power force around it, and the fucking thing came down as Trump was taking over the limousine. Trump tried to take over the limousine driver's wheel to get back to the speech in the middle of all this, screaming, "I'm the president. I'm the president." No, you're not. No, you're not. You're not. You're not. You're just working off a whole bunch of dead Melchizedek freaking inky codes, and you built yourself in this realm through the system. You weren't supposed to be the president, not of last days. Your mother was. That's why you stole her shit, you fuck. Other thing that I just realized, because I haven't even been following this Rumpy trial, because to me, he's just on trial. It don't matter why he's in there. He's just on trial. But I just realized yesterday that the reason that he's on trial is because of that shit that happened with that porn star. Well, fucking A. Hello, Rumpy Rump, you got a call from the Anunnaki. We fucking told you I was activating. 2018. We told you that I just birthed into the new realm to complete all this, you fuck. And you were told by the dragons and the Alpha Draconic race to clean up your mess. And what that meant was you had to expose all your little bullshit so that nobody could blackmail you, you stupid prick. Very next day, I end up talking to some pretend version of my grandmother. All of a sudden, and I'm adopted. I've been looking for years for these motherfuckers. Then all of a sudden, the next day, I end up, you get told to clean up your shit. You get told to unwind your bullshit so that nobody can blackmail you. So all you have to do is just come out and tell the world exactly why you did it. Become the hero. If you just would have done that, this all would have been okay. But instead, what you did was try to take over the fucking human race and make yourself Christ for an AI order, and then recook the entire human race to you and your weird ass whatever the fuck family that you made from it, and a bunch of Tesla grids that ain't even holding anymore. Because we blew him out and had to rebirth the entire cosmos, and Biden is it. That's what he made. What the world is seeing is this is how every single one of your fathers, your grandfathers, are going to end up like Biden. No brain. Not there. I had his brains in a little bitty birdie throughout this. I was having to talk to him. Hi, Biden. Hi, Biden. You want your brains back? Hi, Biden, you want your brains back? And a little tweet. Is all in a tweet. Is all in a Twitter. Now, I said all this to go boom, boom. So it was 2018, and they were looking for us. They hadn't figured out exactly who everyone was in the physical because, of course, our names aren't listed on there as your direct name. We all have these little codes and coded names. This is why none of this is going to get figured out until the goddamn FBI and feds or somebody from another goddamn country even. I don't even give a shit at this point. Somebody come talk to me and somebody come show me. I command it. I command it. I need to see all of those records. I'm the master that you should have called. I'm the one who can see all the connections in between and all the bullshit codes. I'm the cipher, you stupid fucks. You know I am because you put me in the fucking chamber and then you said that PhD Fife was the father of all systems programming. Go look it up. So they put me in a chamber and then they made you the father of all systems programming, but he looks like William Gates to me. Then you have William Gates set up the entire internet system on C, code, and portal. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, we brought the internet here. We had to connect into y'all somehow. We had to, the Assyria energy had to get back into everybody somehow. Why do you think your voice is the most powerful thing, but it's got to go through tech lines to get to you? Why do you think we had to clean every single tech line? Because it's made from our voice. Is made from our image, is made from your future selves and everything else, traveling through time, through signals, but you got to have a cipher. You got to be able to freaking pick it up and understand it. Well, that's what they had when they had me. Well, I delete myself from that program. You never put me in now. You never put me in a chamber. You never had any fucking programming. You never built Microsoft. It doesn't exist. Fuck you. There's no C# programming. There's no programming that you can do on top of it. You can't run any apps on top of it. Does it mean that your technology is going to go down? Some of it. It's already been built up in the hires. Our human bodies are the ones that are keeping it up. It ain't got a goddamn thing to do with Wi-Fi except for the fact they want you to pay for it. They were looking for all of us on YouTube. And so they had different ones of them that were coming in because they knew we were getting our powers. This goes back to Maruma 2 and the Soul Tribe. Her and her Sirius B walk-in bullshit. And then how she fucked up all of us ancients. Although she did her original job. Her original job was to come in and wake us all up. Okay, check. But then you weren't supposed to steal all of our powers and give them to this inky thing and then let him come get us and take us off into space, which is what she did with me. But, I mean, she was basically my mirror version, my Nephthys from the Galactic whatever the fuck, because you're going to have a parallel demon version to you in every fucking dimension whenever you're coming in as a pure light. I can promise you that. So and that's what Isis and Egypt and all that was training for. It was training. Egypt was the middle. It wasn't the beginning. And it definitely is not the end, obviously. The entire Egyptian timeline was set up to train us for what the fuck just happened now. To train us in the shadow. Because when Maldek blew up, Venus lost her shadow. When Maldek blew up, Venus lost her shadow. You literally lost your shadow. No more shadow. It went all the way down to Earth. Your shadow did. It went all the way down to Earth. Then we wonder how the fuck did we get stretched out between the 6th and the 8th dimension? I just explained it. We actually proved string theory by completing this as well. Because it was a heart remembrance from Maldek to Earth that kept us all together and alive. We proved string theory. Whenever we proved string theory, then they just strung us up by our hair and made a giant guitar string that went out. Our children lived on. Our children lived on. Y'all lived on. Y'all made families. Y'all bred, whatever. We got taken out, cut up, stretched, tied by our hair. And we just up there watching y'all. Well, okay, well, I guess we got 12,000 years to plan our next attack. That's why none of us will ever go back. That's why this has got to the point it is. This is why I had to go so dragging on everybody. And it is what it is. Whatever was going to happen to me was going to happen to me, or else the whole human race was going to end. Because I was it. I was the only one left that hold all these codes. You know why? Because they made me to hold all these codes. Every single one of the breeding things, you know, it's like you start out as a mother, then you end up the baby. Well, this is how. There was 0.0248% human DNA left down here. Everything had gone Anunnaki. And then Anunnaki had been taken over. Now, I'm still trying to tell y'all about this YouTube thing. Don't forget, don't worry, I won't forget. But I'm having, you know, the company that 6 to 1 and I was building, you know what the name of it was? If they just would have let me do it, 2012, they just would have let me build the technology, use the 6 to 1, because it's subliminal mind control. What we realized yesterday is that the internet, as it's built right now, gated down to satellites and everything else, the Wi-Fi that you're paying for, what you're paying for is for them to overlay the dark web on the internet. The internet was overlaid with the dark web. The dark web was running the internet. And they were using dark web subliminal codes behind all of these videos. On YouTube, the worst one. FYI, YouTube, you're the worst one. I shown it one day, and thank God I don't see it all the time, because I would have gone insane. But I was shown it one day as we were clearing through this in 3 different videos, what was overlaid behind it. So it's playing subliminally, and some of it even is playing videos of murder and rape behind some of these videos. Screams and all. Not just a frequency. Screams and all. From the dark web was being overlaid onto the internet. That's what this Web 3 is that you've been hearing about. Was that little ball that spit out of the sun and all that? That little meteor, it had a 3 on it. Well, there it is. That's Web 3. You're going to be hearing a lot more about it. Especially with this TikTok band and stuff like that. Because there was always groups of us that had always invented things down here in order to solve this problem. Because the codes were here, the organic codes were here, we were sending them the messages to build it. We don't build everything. We can't build everything. We send everyone else the consciousness codes to build it. Okay, that's cool. But Web 3.0 is basically pulling us out of that subliminal mind control, but just a little bit. It ain't it. It ain't it totally. That's 6 to 1. 6 to 1 was stolen. What 6 to 1 did is gave you, which was Anu. It was Anu.com. ANU. It was literally making a new sun to build it all, to take it over. But the Anu website that I was building at the time was making you use, it was using the technology in order to see how you really felt about stuff, and It also allows you to, you're the holder of your data. You are. So you should only have one login to the Web3 system in order to get on all your socials. All your socials should be attached to one login to get on the system. Socials are just billboards. Whenever you advertise, you don't just advertise in the newspaper. You got to put up a billboard. You got to send out some commercials. You got to It's the true organic system of how it was originally built. What they did was cut it off and sell it off for parts, and then have each of these entities freaking control different aspects in order to keep it all fucked up. But that ain't why. Single sign on? Oh, give me a break. Give me a break. Single sign-on and that whole technology of single sign-on that y'all don't know anything about, but the corporations all went goo-goo off of it, because if you're inside of a corporate system and you're having to use 9 different applications in order to do your job at this point, then they created a technology called single sign-on that you do exactly what I just said. You sign on, it puts you into every single one of your windows, but then all they did was build connectors to sign on to everything and then sell it off for parts. So Web 4.0 is the true natural organic state of the internet, and how the beings now, we are the internet. Technology is only using is a tool, kind of like tarot cards at this portion of what we call time. We don't even need all of this eventually in order to communicate with the whole world. There'll be different versions of it. There's different, I mean, all of it, because everything that's been done down here was in separation. None of it was done by the one. None of it. So Web 4.0 would be the one. Web 4.0 would be the and fuck you, James Webb. You're gonna work for us now. I command James Webb and the satellite and all those mirrors fucking tune to the 4.0. And I command all shadow internet overlays and any subliminal messages reverse all intention as soon as the people see it, to break the shadow internet. And anybody that's programming and putting shit into the dark web, I command everything that you put in there happen to you now. Because basically this whole time what they've also been programming is Web 3.0 by Telegram. But realize that ended up, just like she said in the video, it ended up being a remote control. Because goddamn, at the end of days, we's all on remote control. We had to break open our body codes, and freaking rebirth our body codes so that they couldn't control our lives and our bodies, and us think that it's our idea, but all of it be happening in another dimension at the same time, and then them using us to like steal shit, using us to bomb shit, using us to, I mean, they had to have us to do all of it. They don't even have a CIA earpiece without Sirius. This is why they went for Sirius B. This is why we had to split Sirius B in fucking half to get back down here and blow your mind. We're blowing your mind. If you're not remembering things from the past, good. We're having to blow your mind, literally, in order to get you out. But the entire universal mind, because this had gone on so long that the left brain ended up in a right brain sac. You didn't even have a right brain sac. You didn't even have a circle. You had half of a circle that was being reflected to the other half of the circle. Well, then you wonder how the fuck the right brain ended up in a left brain sac. Well, there it is. There it is. Well, they's looking for us, and so there was all these. I'm out of coffee, so I'm gonna finish up with this. They's looking for us, and so we's all activating, and we had to connect anyway. We had to use the technology anyway that they had built, because it was the only way to connect. So there was this one guy that was teaching people how to remote view on his channel. I can't even remember the name of the channel. This is even why Brian Milky Way came over. I scrub everything that's ever happened on YouTube. Any infiltration with YouTube characters in my world on this since 2012, and Trump shut me down and took over my Twitter feed. Because I was using this technology to build my company. I subconsciously knew exactly how all of it worked. It's whenever I got wise to it and started utilizing it to build the pure of what needed to be built, that they all came after me, because they had their own plans. And he would put a picture or some word or something in an envelope, and he'd seal it. And then he'd hold it up to all of us on a live, just like we're on right now. And he'd say, okay, tune it. He gave us a little bit of direction and and what to do, and then how to tune into it. And then he wanted us to tell us what we were seeing. Well, holy crap. Holy crap. All of us also were so excited to communicate, and because we were figuring out our gifts and we didn't even know that we could do this, and so everybody was putting into YouTube what you were seeing. But it had to happen. We had to get it out. We had to write it. All of it had to happen. But they were watching every single bit of it and made movies about it. So all of a sudden I get transported in a dark cave. I'm in a dark cave, and now all of a sudden I'm walking through an underground cave, and there's only way I can describe them is ant people. These ant people, and they were all lined up on each side of the cave wall with these giant spears. And now all of a sudden it's like, as soon as I saw the cave, now I'm walking down the hall of Amorte, the hall of Amente. I'm walking down the hall, and all of them are going doom, 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 and it's like I'm leading, I'm in charge. Blew my mind. They're behind me, I'm walking. And the whole tunnel's doing this. The whole tunnel's doing this. Now, see, now I also know that whenever those doom, doom, and drums and stuff, that is used in dimensional shifting and dimensional travel, especially if they're all doing it at the same time. It creates a frequency that basically can throw you into a different dimension. So I'm walking down the hall, and I get led to a door and off the hall, and I go in, and it's a completely blackout room. It's completely blackout room. There's no light. None. And there was somebody in there with me. I don't know who was in there with me, but as soon as I walked in, it's like I knew. It's like I was like turning to the side and turning, because it's this big room. It's a massive room, but it was pitch dark. But we were walking along, because when you open the door, you could kind of see the layout, how big the room was, but then the door shut. And what I was looking for was reflections off my spaceship, and it was in there. And it's a blackout mirrored spaceship. You can't see it in the dark. The only way that you can even see it is if you happen to hit an angle of light that'll show you the architecture of it. But basically it's a black mirror spaceship. And so I'm typing this shit because I'm like, what the fuck? He opens up the envelope. It's Antarctica. Your super soldiers and everything, your time travel. This is why I'm always screaming Trump. All you got to do is tell them about the real Space Force, because they're all very much aware that we're the real Space Force, the beings that have been down here doing this, not the ones that you gave a plaque and pretended you sent them to the moon or threw them out in some weird dimensional aspect in order to channel all of our energy in order to do some birdie shit. No. You need to tell the truth. So that's all I got on that. It's 12:13, so that's 333, and I'm gonna get some rest now. I just needed to communicate all of this to y'all, so that you're able to understand not what happened before, because it's already happened. It happened your entire history. And I was even second guessing myself, do I need to put this out or wait? And then I asked Danielle, do I need to put this out right now? Is it going to accidentally create it again? Or do I need to wait? Her reaction was, wait 3 weeks. As soon as she said that, I was like, okay, I don't think that's the right answer. But then I think I need to get it out. I need to explain this because we've already walked it. It's already been done. It's how I'm just explaining how the fuck we did it. And this is what I'm thinking in my head. But then she said, yeah, but what's in 3 weeks? And I look it up on 3 weeks, and oh my god, in 3 weeks it's gonna be this day right here. We got this going on. We got this going on. All this is going on in 3 weeks. And that in 3 weeks, it's May 14th. May 14th. And what I'm seeing is that energy that I described, if you watch that live when I went to that Epstein apartment on Laura Croft in Melrose in California, and it was like that giant whirlwind energy that felt like a twin energy that picked me up. Well, that's Inky Melchizedek order. They merged with the wrong birch. This birch ain't their trait. And their entire Sirius B walk-in bullshit of trying to resurrect this old Egyptian crap in order to fucking find a Sumerian to take over and turn him into Satan and the devil. Because that's what they tried to do. They were making these entities. These entities didn't, these are human-made. Your devil and your Satan are human-made. So 3 weeks, I believe, is when there'll be a correct whirlwind pairing of some sort, is what I'm seeing. That's when these energies, they're already united in the etherics. We're already in a union. All of us are in union that are in the Assyrian line. We've been in union for probably about 3 or 4, maybe longer. I'm even up to 6 months. But it's so far out because our union is having to be created because it's a new version that's having to mirror us. It's a new version of us that's having to process, and we're having to process to it, and it's having to process to us in order to mirror us, in order to even project. But that May 14th, and then the week before that. So, I mean, and it's all going to be going down on Tuesdays. To build it, it was all going down on Thursdays. That had everything to do with Jupiter. Now is like this Tuesday from this pink full moon, and then the 30th, and then the 7th, and then the 14th. It's all, and then the 21st is whenever the full eyes line up right before the flower moon. So this is what we're breaking through. This is what's having to be done. And this is why I don't connect with anything that's still on cleanup right now. You might be connecting with them in order to help them clean it up because you've got a version that's meeting you in the physical. But remember, they're not completely set yet, and neither are you. The whole process, if they're coming in the physical, and the whole process is to set each other and maybe be together and maybe just reset each other because now y'all are both going to a higher energetic. It just had to be set from there. That's why I'm saying you don't dismiss it if anybody comes into your energy. But don't sign the contract yet. Don't, and definitely don't have any type of sexual encounter with them yet. Make sure that because this is what's happening right now from the entire collective. And I'd ask for all of y'all to do one thing for me, and it's command that I be set to this highest form, that this highest form mirror me, and that this highest form of a masculine down here that's assisting the rest of the masculines that are holding the lower density forms right now. Because if I don't get with the right one, then there ain't no way in hell everybody else will. And this is why I refused until the bitter end to sign off, to sign out. I refused for any of them to treat me any less than what we deserve to be treated, because if I allow it, then it'll happen to the rest of you. Thing was, I never allowed it. I never, well, I did for a minute. I fell for it in the beginning for a minute. But really, no. I just allowed him to, I just played the part. But they did break my heart and kill me in order to rebirth my heart so I wouldn't remember, basically. So if y'all could do that for me, I'd really appreciate it, because my mind's been fucked with the most about this, because I'm the one that's been dealing with these factions in order to build this new version. This new version is a masculine that fits with our feminine codes, not one that's set to blow them up, not one that's set to take them over. That what works in unison is what it's all been about. And they got to go clean up their mess. Thank you. I love y'all. Have a great day. I'm going to get some rest.